Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys hear us and see us?
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, we're live on mine too.
Okay. Did it happen at the same time? Or you had to do something?
Do I got to do something?
No, no, no. I was asking, did you have to do something or did it just go?
No. I just went and it was live.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We are streaming on my channel, I'm Not a Lawyer, but, and also streaming on Meghann the Reporter.
Yes. Meghann QF. That's the channel. Subscribe if you can, please.
Yes.
What's up, everybody?
Everybody's coming on in. I know East Coast. I know it's late. It's late for y'all, but we appreciate you being here. We're in court all day today.
Yes.
So we get to kind of recap and tell you what happened.
Longer day than the usual Soulja Boy days. We had to be there at 9. Although in the back of my head, I was kind of like, and I even went through on my phone and looked at his calendar. I was like, how many items does he actually have on his calendar? I bet I can get there at 9:15. I was trying to decide if I had time to get the old blue bottle coffee before I got on the E train. And I'm like, oh, I totally do. I did cut it. It was only like, maybe 10 or 15 minutes before he got to the case, though, when I sat down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing
I was concerned myself. I thought I was going to be late because of all the traffic, but it wasn't too bad when they started. So maybe you can give a good recap because you've been attending. You can give a good recap about what happened and kind of the setup for this Jay-Z Busby hearing that happened today. And then we can kind of bounce around about what we kind of took away from it.
Yes. So there was an original hearing back in February about this motion to strike from the defense, basically to dismiss the defamation and the extortion claims. There's also an intentional infliction of emotional distress claim too. So the judge had a tentative ruling back then that still isn't final. It wasn't a lot of judges will issue opinions like ahead of time to kind of give the attorneys a heads up about what they're thinking, and that's what he did here. And he was going to strike the extortion claim. He was saying that he basically said during the argument that California law is such that a lawyer can just lie their ass off in a demand letter as long as they have an intent to sue and a real client. Like there's really not much you can do. It's litigation privilege until it could be grounds for a malicious prosecution case, like after the case is all over. So he was really leaning towards throwing out the extortion claim, and he was going to keep the defamation claim for 3 of the 6 statements. So 3 of the statements would be thrown out. And the idea was that, I mean, it is kind of a win that part of the defamation claim would survive, but really, like, to have a good case to actually go forward, you need the extortion claim. Because I mean, the idea of actually going to like a jury trial on just these 3 statements, I mean, can you guys imagine like Jay-Z going to court for like these 3 tweets? And even if the jury rules that it's defamatory, you know, the idea that the damages would be really big, or the extortion thing is kind of what they really need to like anchor this whole case. But the judge, like I said, was saying, I'm going to throw this out. But Jay-Z's lawyers were saying that, oh, we have this new information, we don't know what it is, but they couldn't talk about it. But the judge delayed the hearing and allowed them to file this stuff. And that's when we started hearing about this interview with Jane Doe that I'm sure a lot of the listeners are familiar with. The claim, the investigators who went to Jane Doe, the accuser who says that Jay-Z and Diddy attacked her at after party for the VMA Awards in 2000. The case was dismissed, but the litigation afterwards has shown that it was basically it wasn't dismissed on the merits at all. That the woman is still apparently, according to Tony Buzbee, standing by our claims, but the investigators that were working for somebody connected to Jay-Z went and talked to her in Alabama. And a lot of people have probably heard the recording that was on, I think, Good Morning America, and the transcripts come out where she says that Buzbee is the one that wanted to mention Jay-Z. So that was the new information that came forward and kind of led to all this flurry of filings in the hearing today, which, as you saw, it's another tentative order, right? Nothing final.
And the other thing I will quickly add is, just for context or as a reminder, this extortion and this defamation from Jay-Z is against Busby. This one is not against Jane Doe. This is specifically Jay-Z saying, Busby, you extorted me, you defamed me, and therefore I'm suing you. And so when the
Yes.
judge was saying, I'm throwing this out because he did not extort you, this is, very a Mel version, right? But when the judge is saying, Jay-Z, I'm throwing this out because he didn't extort you. And then Jay-Z's team says, well, actually, hold on. Let us get some more. Let me show you that he extorted us or extorted.
Exactly.
And that's where you enter these recordings.
Yes.
These are the silver bullet. This is the, hey, judge, don't throw this out because this is our proof that it really was extortion. But like Meg is saying, the key, right, and what the thing was, the judge was really kind of focused in on is, did they really intend to file a lawsuit? And they did, because the lawsuit was filed. And or did Jane Doe actually know, was she actually a real client? And did she know that this settlement letter was sent? Because if so, this wasn't extortion. This is just kind of how this goes. So,
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. So that is, I just wanted to give a little more context, because even today I kept having to remember, oh, wait, this is against Busby. This is against Busby.
Yeah.
Like,
because they've got the separate case, the federal case in Alabama that's actually against Jane Doe and also against Busby. It's malicious prosecution, but yeah, this is the one. And it's interesting to remember that this case was actually filed before the actual amended complaint naming Jay-Z was filed. He originally filed this under a John Doe name, and I remember seeing I think there was a press release about it from Quinn Emanuel or something, but I was just wondering to myself if it was Jay-Z. I mean, to me, the Quinn Emanuel thing was what gave it away. But then a couple weeks later, when they filed the amended complaint, it kind of was like, oh, wait a minute, we've already got the extortion lawsuit going. So this is the continuation of it. And this hearing this morning was supposed to be, I mean, I went in there being like, okay, is he going to finalize this ruling on the extortion thing or not? Like, is he tossing the extortion thing? Yeah. And it seems to me that, what else was he going to do? Oh, I guess they were asking that was a big ask from the defense, was they wanted to take the deposition of Jane Doe and Tony Busby. And he said no to that he's not going to allow that. But it really doesn't matter, because the reason they wanted to take the deposition was to further support their extortion claim. So if he keeps the extortion claim, it doesn't really matter that he's not allowing their depositions yet, because he says that, of course, if this case proceeds to discovery, they're going to get their depositions taken. So the main point, the main win for him is keeping the extortion claim. And I don't know, it kind of seemed like he just wanted to, like, the judge is a real law nerd, but do you see him changing his mind? I mean, did anyone seem to be really persuading him from Busby's side that he would change his mind? Like, did you see
I don't think so. I didn't see that. I will also say too, though, and I was trying really hard to get a read, because one of the big moments for me, I wonder if it landed on you the same way, was this back and forth about, well, who hired the investigators? Who hired these investigators to go to Jane Doe's house in Alabama, show up on her porch and ask her these questions? And of course, I think the media narrative and what's been put out is that it was not Jay-Z, it was not his people, he didn't do it. And then they're having this back and forth, and the judge says, we'll let you just settle this right now. And he kind of turns to Jay's attorneys and he just asks, who hired the investigators?
Yeah, because it would be, and just from, like, when they first raised this, Busby's lawyers, I was like, yeah, I recognize that from covering like other cases, that if somebody is represented by a client, it is considered, or if somebody's represented by a lawyer, it's unethical for another lawyer to contact that person directly and not go through their lawyer. So Busby's lawyers seem to like really pounce on that. They're like, this is deeply concerning that they contacted a represented party. But the easy out, and that was their easy out from the beginning. The lawyers were just like, we didn't hire these investigators. They're not connected to us. And the judge seemed to like pretty well dispel that today. You even said, although I don't know why, it's like, this would not be appropriate, like publicly. And he seemed to acknowledge that, like, Jay-Z has an ethical right well, Jay-Z's not a licensed lawyer, so he can't get in trouble with a state bar, and he doesn't have ethical duties as a lawyer to not contact someone who's represented by a party. So the idea that he would go and contact this woman is crazy. But the judge's point is that he has a legal right or an ethical, he's not bound by the ethical duties of attorneys not to contact other, and same with any investigator. So I remembered Robert Schwartz, the Jay-Z's lawyer, point blank said, we didn't hire him, but it was pretty, he did say Rock Nation hired him.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I wrote in my Patreon exactly what was said, because I was like, oh, tell us more. Hold on. He said, let me find it. Oh, where is it? Okay. He said, I would like to know who hired the investigators. And the attorney said, as far as I know, someone at Mr. Carter's company. And then the judge said, Mr. Carter's company. The attorney said, at Rock Nation. I think they were hired by an investigator at Rock Nation. That's what he said at first. And then we are in there. More things happen. And then the Jay's attorneys circle back and say that they got a call, or somebody informed them that it actually wasn't someone. It was someone who worked for Jay, like an assistant, and they knew an investigator. And so that's how these investigators came on board. It became a little like, what happened?
Yeah.
But the judge said it's okay to infer. I am inferring that even by this third party in this kind of roundabout way, you're still saying this person was hired by Jay-Z, essentially, is what it comes down to. And it's reasonable to assume that even if this third party person hired the investigators, Jay-Z knew about it. He knew that these investigators were going to go to her house. So that was kind of the big takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah. It seemed to me, just kind of going back, that the attorneys were just kind of, defense was just kind of surprised that the judge was going to accept these statements at all, and thought that like the premise of these investigators like kind of going to her house when she's not represented by counsel would just eliminate everything. So it didn't seem like they really had much of an argument.
I agree.
Like, other than that. And the judge was just kind of, I mean, you can tell the judge is, I mean, his dad was this appellate justice. So of course he's just this law nerd, and he loves to talk about law, and it goes on. We're all going to be back there on April 7th now, I guess. But like we were saying, is the opinion really going to change very much, or is the order going to change very much?
I'm still reading through it though. So I'm still reading, but go ahead.
I like the part about not for the press, or this is for the press. I saw it and I was like, oh, I better read this part. Then he's like, no, this is for actually you guys. It's about how obviously some of those filings were meant for the press, but the stuff about Jane Doe's background and just the relevancy of it and the legality of it when he's deciding the law, because it really just comes down to, is there a chance? And frankly, some of his reasoning and the stuff about the timing of the statements and what could have happened, I got a little lost in. But it seemed like the overall legal issue he's thinking about is there a chance that Tony Buzbee sent this demand letter without the permission of Jane Doe? And he's concluded that there is, that these statements show that there is. And that doesn't mean that it's been proven that there is, or it definitely means that Jay-Z is going to win if this actually goes forward. It just means that it favors him right now, if you assume all facts in his favor.
Yeah. Somebody asked in here, so I just want to answer somebody was asking which case or what, hold on, what did you say? So was Meg at Jay-Z and Mel at Soulja Boy? So the interesting thing about this is that the same judge who is overseeing Soulja Boy's civil trial, is also overseeing this Jay-Z Busby thing. So we went at 9 a.m. for Jay-Z and Tony Busby. And then once that ended, Soulja Boy started in that same trial. The reason actually that the Jay-Z trial had to end the hearing had to end when it did is because the judge was like, the jurors are here for Soulja Boy. I need to get them in here so that we can start the trial. So it is same judge, same courtroom. We were in there all day. So it was confusing. Sorry.
He even said something after people were leaving. He was talking to his court clerks. He's like, Oh, it's a music artist day in Department Y right now. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a coincidence, huh? I heard him say, God, how many cases did he say he had? He said back in February, I think said he has 1,200 cases. Like, what the hell? It's a lot. But like I said, he seems to relish it.
Yeah. Earlier, they were dealing with somebody before the Jay-Z Busby thing, and it's like a car accident trial or something like that. And he said, he asked the assistant, when's the next opening I have for a 7-day trial? And I think she said like December 2026, like December 7th. And I was like, are you kidding me? We don't think March of 25.
Yeah, so there was a scheduling like that in like Leah Remini. I go to all the Scientology litigation stuff for Tony Ortega in his Substack. So I've heard some wild scheduling stuff in those cases where it's like, yeah, we'll have a trial in 2028. It's like, oh my God. But I mean, I bet if we got with the lawyers in Soulja Boy and asked them about this, it was probably something like that. Like they've probably been waiting for this trial date for a long freaking time because the lawsuit was filed in 2021. And it's kind of one of those cases where like, how much litigation is there actually? There had to have been some settlement negotiations, but it can become pretty clear pretty early that you're not going to settle. So then you just spent 3 years waiting for trial? Like, you think the lawyers would be a little better. The case is a pain. Like how long it is. I mean, I don't know. Are you impressed with like the lawyering going on in the Soulja Boy trial? I mean, it's just like, I'm kind of on both sides. Like, and it favors Soulja Boy's side. I think anytime you have your end game is to get the jury to try to give away millions of dollars, like to have the trial be a mess. Like it just doesn't favor the plaintiff like that. That doesn't mean she's not going to get anything. It's kind of hard to say. I'm in your boat where I have not seen as much testimony from her.
Yeah.
As other ones have, but
I wish I would have loved to see the direct for the plaintiff who is still on the stand. I would have loved to understand just to get the context and understand kind of what we're dealing with. But yeah, this has been it's slow moving. And then they keep interrupting and adding. The judge is allowing, I think this is the second person that they've interrupted her testimony and just allowed other people to testify. Which typically I understand, but I'm like, let's get this going.
Get this, get her in and out here. So I'm not even gonna go tomorrow because I'm assuming I want to see him testify, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get on. If he does, it's going to be the very end of the day, and he's going to be back to testify again. But they're still on cross with her, aren't they?
Yes.
So they're going to do redirect, and then recross. So she's going to be on there all day Thursday. Are you gonna go?
I'm not planning to go tomorrow. And also, when I was walking out, there was somebody outside, and he said that was the next witness. So I was like, "It's not even Soulja Boy is next. I'm not coming tomorrow. I don't want to hear this."
Well, is Monday a holiday? So I guess the next court day after that is Tuesday. Is Monday?
I think so. Holiday? Oh, is Monday a holiday?
He was saying something about a long weekend, but maybe he just meant Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, that would be good. Listen, I'm okay with that too. But I have to ask, are you getting out of if you're getting this out of it, that of course she has, all these claims, and there are some like sexual assault claims. She was his assistant. So there are some like financial claims and all of that. But on the other side, are you getting that his attorney, like the defense is that this is a money grab, and also because they had a relationship, that this is like a angry woman, bitter kind of situation. Is that what you're getting from it?
Yeah, it seems to be, angry, bitter ex-girlfriend, money grab, and maybe now has kind of a distorted view of what actually happened, and is like, taking an overly dramatic, like victim view of what was really just, a toxic relationship. I mean, it's kind of like the Diddy defense, I mean, it's just different evidence. But I thought were you there for the big bird texts? I looked over, and Hillel, the Courthouse News Service reporter who's seen more of it than I did, I could see him kind of smile when those big bird texts came out. But for the viewers, it was cross-examination of Soulja Boy's former employee who I guess she was hired, and I think there's a bit of contention about whether she was just hired as a blunt roller and personal assistant, or if she was more hired because of her marketing skills. Because she was saying that it's not just, blunt rolling that she was advertising, that she has skills in making people, viral content. And she had worked for Little Twist for 8 years. She'd said, so I think there's a bit of contention about whether she was just a blunt roller, but some of her testimony is that she was like forced to roll blunts, like extra long hours, and they would like make her take drugs to do it. But he went to jail, and I guess they haven't talked about what he actually went to jail for. Probably purposely. There was probably a ruling on that, but it's all about how they started talking every day when he was in jail, and I guess when he got out, they were like kind of together. But the Big Bird texts today were him going off on him or her going off on him. Excuse me. These are her texts to Soulja Boy about other women, and it says something about why are you talking to this Big Bird looking bitch? And something happened where they needed a read back of the question from the court reporter, so we actually got to hear the text read in the court reporter's voice. And then the judge lets us use our laptops in there. So I'm kind of like half working on other things. And I tweet that, and, I don't even know how long it was. 15 minutes later, they bring up another Big Bird text, but it sounds like the same text. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this Soulja Boy's, or it's the woman's lawyers who object, because this is Soulja Boy's lawyers on cross trying to show that she's just this disgruntled, jealous ex-girlfriend. So they're reading all these, hey, why are you talking to that Big Bird bitch? And they're a Big Bird looking bitch. And women's lawyers object. They're like, Judge, this is cumulative. And I mean, the text was like exactly the same. So I'm like, how can the lawyer not remember that he's already been through the same text like 10 minutes ago? And the judge was like, yeah, I recognize this Big Bird comment. And Soulja Boy's lawyer's just like, well, Your Honor, she made them several times. It's another text that just says the same thing as this Big Bird.
It's like, I remember Big Bird. I was like, what is happening? Yeah. And what
do you think about the jury pool? There's such a diverse group. Like, I mean, juries are always just motley crews, but it's like, we've got a couple of old grandpas. There's, a lot of younger people, but I was surprised at how many of them there are. I mean, they have a bunch of alternates in there, but they don't even, I don't know how many they need for a civil case in state court, but I don't think it's 12. It's like, why do they have so many over there? But
it is so many. And I counted yesterday because there's 6 of the 16 jurors, including the alts. There are 6 men. So 10 of them are women. And of the 6, 3 of them are like grandpas, like full on, like they must just be shocked by what they've heard. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they're just like young people these days. Like nothing shocks us anymore. But it's like this has to just be a foreign land for them. Yeah, for sure. And then, like you said, there's some younger people on there. There's a Black woman. I'm always happy to see Black women and Black people on the jurors and people of color. Yes. I appreciated that because his whole team, he has an entire Black team. His attorneys. The 2 guys, and then there's a woman on there. And then, so anyway, I'm so curious about that jury and what they are thinking while this is all going on, because it is so, it's just dragging and long, and you're like, get to the point, speed this up. So I'm curious how it's going to go.
Yeah. And the judge, I think he said on one of the other day that told him April 2nd, but then he was going off to the lawyers that he's worried that they're going to go late or something. And I mean, it's like, it's in every, I mean, I can see why the plaintiffs want to get every single thing in, but it's not in their interest to have this like drag out and then be like, okay, give us $15 million.
Yeah.
Or I haven't heard any kind of number about what they're actually asking for, but
Did you see when she was on the stand, his attorney was reading a text, I believe it was a text. And in the text, she said, I don't know if it was a text or something, but regardless, he was quoting her in which she said, I'm going to sue you for $5 million or something like that. And then he said, did you say that? And the plaintiff on the stand was like, that's why we're here.
Hello. And she has that kind of, and it has to just be natural for any witness to like just get pissed off at the attorney, but it would be in her best interest to just answer the questions, but they got to always point out that, oh, well, your question is a little slanted and you're not bringing this up, and the judge has to intervene, and it just drags it all on. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. But, what else? What about Hillel was there for the accent stuff. Were you there for that?
I was not.
So this was like, oh man, I think if this had been tweeted, it probably would have blown up. But the judge apologized to the jury on Monday because the week before, and I wasn't here for this, but her lawyers, the woman's lawyers, were reading text messages aloud, and were reading text messages that Soulja Boy sent her, and all it was said was that it was read in an accent.
Yeah.
That they started reading in an accent, and the defense or objected. Soulja Boy's lawyers objected, and he sustained. The judge did, but the judge's point on Monday was that he should have called it off sooner, and he even said that it goes to the integrity of the court in the proceeding. So actually just brought it upon himself and was like, yeah, I'm going to remind the jury of this and apologize to them and tell them I should have intervened sooner, which is really not good for her lawyers. I mean, it makes them look like assholes, but nobody ever, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there for the objection the week before, but Hillel said that the N-word might have been said. Like,
really?
They were reading the text, and the lawyers are white. Like, her lawyers are definitely white. And they were reading text from Soulja Boy in like this voice and reading the N-word aloud.
The idea that they were reading in an accent, I don't even want to imagine what the accent is or was or what the text was, because are you kidding me? Like, that is completely inappropriate. I can't. I'm sure that Black woman on that stand was probably pissed off.
And that's the kind of stuff that I hear, and I'm like, okay, that, and just combined with, I mean, what the case is, it's not going to help them, right?
No. Yeah. It's in that. Yeah. No. This is dead.
The lawyers, people who are tuning in, probably might be familiar with like the lawsuit from Megan Thee Stallion's photographer is suing her. Emilio, have you covered that one?
Yes.
Emilio lawsuit.
TikTok about that one.
Yeah. Her lawyer, one of her lawyers, Ron Zam. How do you pronounce his last name? It starts with a Z. But he represents Emilio. He's Emilio's lawyer in the lawsuit against Megan Thee Stallion. So we're seeing West Coast trial lawyers in action. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how they do. You can't, it'll be up to the jury. But like, even when the case is good, civil cases are always tough. To get a jury like that to agree to give away like a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
When, I mean, she has been to the hospital. We've seen the dash cam. We've heard about hospital visits, but usually in like a civil case or an injury case, like medical bills, future stuff, medical care that you're going to need. You can find some kind of like logical reason to put a dollar amount on this, but I'm not sure how they're going to support a damages request other than this was a horrible behavior and she should be compensated for it,
Yeah.
So vague. It's like, how do you agree? All those people. Yeah.
That's why I really do wish I would have. I imagine, this is speculation, I imagine that the direct examination probably just put together her story more clearer than currently being done. And that's why because it's hard to tell, like, how is this going? Because it just feels so all over the place. But
yeah, Hillel saw like the first day of her testimony, and I think Nancy was there for the first day of her testimony too. But I haven't talked to her much about it. But Hillel said it was super emotional. He said like much more because she's kind of combative. Although she's been emotional too, but it was much more like holy crap, they really got into some bad stuff and kind of being held, like feeling like she was being held captive and trying to escape and stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, have you heard the story about the mountain lion? And I'm like, what is the significance of this mountain lion? Like, are his lawyers just trying to highlight it to make it look like she's being kind of ridiculous? Or are her lawyers trying to highlight it because they think it's like symbolic or something? But the story is that one night she like ran away from the home, and when she went down the driveway, she saw a mountain lion like looking at her. It's like, okay.
It was like such a thing today. It was such a thing, and because his attorney said she was chased by a mountain lion instead of the fact that she saw a mountain lion, so that became a thing. And then when the attorney actually asked her when she's back on the stand, she corrects him and says, "I wasn't chased, I saw one." And I was like, "What the hell do we care about the mountain lion for? What happened?
Put the mountain lion on the stand. What does he know?"
It's really, you guys, don't be upset that this trial is not being streamed, because I promise you, you would turn it off because it is just so hard to follow. It's a mess. It's a mess. And these attorneys are just not helping. They're just not helping. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's sad, obviously, and whether it happened or didn't happen, whatever, like the idea of it happening is obviously really sad. I was reading her documents, and even the pictures that were included, like all of that, but it's just like, this is just not put together very well. I can't.
Yeah. It's like, well, I think we can all agree this was not a healthy relationship.
Oh, for sure.
But, you know, beyond that, I'm not sure what we're going to be able to agree on here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but gosh, the judge seemed, I mean, it was kind of amazing to have those two cases just right on him. I'd actually never actually been at this. Maybe I had. No, I think I went to the Santa Monica courthouse once to interview a judge when I was at the Daily Journal, but I'd never actually covered anything there. But it's so down home with their outside courtrooms and everything. It's like a Southern California high school feel to it out there.
Yes. Yeah. It's so, in comparison to downtown, that's what I was live yesterday talking about the difference between this courthouse and the downtown one. I mean, it's on the beach, it's outside, even going in security is so just chill. There's no busy elevator. It's so different than this ASAP Rocky trial where you're in the high rise, everybody's pushing you, trying to get on the elevator, the floor is packed, security intense. Like, it is such a difference. This is mellow, chill, everyone's fine.
They still have that just like wall of sheriff's deputies when you walk into. It's like, what are these guys here for? And the one thing I'm regretting tweeting is when I walked in on, it had to have been Monday, and you know, everybody was just buzzing about the Atlantic editor being added to the Signal group for the war plans and everything. And the sheriff's deputies were talking about it. And it's like, okay, guys, the news of the Atlantic editor being added to the Signal group war chat has reached the sheriff's deputies at the Santa Monica courthouse, and they've concluded it's bullshit. We're just like, oh yeah, this is fake news. I'm like, and I stood there and listened to him for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, no, they're definitely talking about how this did not happen, even though everyone just admits it did happen. The spin on it is just that we shouldn't care and it's not that big a deal. But yeah, it's like, here we go.
Screenshots.
So next week, I guess, could there be a verdict next week? Yeah, hopefully they don't just drag it on. But I think we'll be there. So theoretically we'll be back. Or at least I'll be there in Epstein's courtroom next week. And then even if there's a verdict in Soulja Boy, we'll be back on April 7th for more Jay-Z and Tony Busby.
April 7th, absolutely. I'll be there too. I'll plan to go. I'm happy actually because I shoot a podcast on Monday. So if it's back on Tuesday, that's even better, because I would love to see Soulja Boy on the stand, and that is apparently what we're gonna get. So and actually the judge did okay that, right? Because there was back and forth about it, because he's being called by the plaintiff because he was on the defense's witness list, and so he was they asked to call, and the defense was arguing about it back and forth, saying that can they call him first, and just kind of going back and forth. And eventually I believe the judge said the plaintiff can call him, but when the defense does when the defense does cross, they won't be bound in their questions by what was asked by the plaintiff.
Yes, that sounds right. I think at least the conclusion definitely was, you know, he can be called on the plaintiff's side, but yeah, that's an interesting caveat about whether the questions can be held per exam or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how he ended it. The judge, when he finally was like, yes, he was kind of shutting them down. I'm pretty sure that is what he ended with, that they won't be bound by, you know, what was asked on direct, because you guys know when cross is usually subject to what was brought up during the direct, but because this is really the defense's witness, they'll be able to ask more. So
yes, yeah,
it should be interesting whenever he takes a stand. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. And I'm just like, what else do they have after that? I mean, what more does the jury need to hear? But maybe they have some other defense witnesses I haven't heard. Hillel said the openings were really short, like 10 minutes, like tops.
Oh, that's hilarious. I believe it. I looked at the witness list because he keeps making a big deal. The judge keeps making a big deal about things not being on the exhibit list and things not, you didn't include this person and do this. So the witness list is like 3 people. It was Soulja Boy, and then it's either 2 or 3 more people, but it wasn't a ton. So yeah.
Oh, I saw was it Ashley pointed out in the chat that Monday is Caesar Chavez Day.
Oh,
that must, that's why.
That's
what the long weekend reference was for.
Got it.
So Tuesday they'll be back. So
even better.
So yeah, long day in court.
Even better. All right, I think we got anything else to cover. You guys got Mel and Meg, first of all. An amazing live. The 2 of us together.
Yes. Hit me a subscribe. I'm trying to get back in the YouTube algorithm game. I've been slagging. I've been busy all month not doing stuff, but I got to get back on the grind.
Did you get any videos of Soulja Boy today? I didn't.
I did. I got here. Actually, maybe I can upload it. Do I have my phone? I got one of him leaving too. I told him I should have given him a hybrid option. Oh, you know what? The phone's dead. I can't get to him right now. Nothing too great. It's so unassuming there, you know. Like I saw, gosh, and I'm blanking on his name, but he was at every day of the Rocky trial. He would take video and sit in court, but he came today for Soulja Boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a pretty different scene than the downtown courthouse too. But I think he's going tomorrow. I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I think he'll be back next week. Hopefully he's back next week.
I ran into him when I was leaving. He was walking in and he's like, "How's it going?" I was like, "Oh,
he's cool." I was stoked to see him. But yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, and thanks for having me live.
All right. You guys obviously subscribe to Meg, subscribe to me, watch our content. We're covering all the things all the time, keeping us busy. And I guess I'll see you sometime next week, or I'll see you on the internet and the internet streets.
Yes. Hopefully I'll see you next week. But
all right.
All right. See you
Bye.
later.